game week. Your Baltimore Ravens set to take on the Cincinnati Bengals in a divisional showdown in NFL week number 2. Welcome into the channel. Tyler Jones here with a preview of this matchup. We'll take a look at the injury report, keys to victory, as well as my prediction coming up at the end of today's show. Before we get to any of all of that, though, we are in the midst of a sub-battle this week with our Bengals channel, Bengals Breakdown. And I got to tell you, Ravens fans, not only do I want to beat the Bengals on the field, but I want to beat them off the field as well. I want to show why the flock is the superior fan base to that Bengals fan base. So here's what I need you to do. Let's go ahead and subscribe now if you haven't already, and beat the Bengals and new subscribers this week. Subscribe now for free. Sub for dubs. You want your Ravens to win? Subscribe now for free and join the family each and every day here on Ravens Rundown. We'll take it to Bengals Breakdown to win the sub-battle this week. Let's start with the injury report for the Ravens, and there's 6 notable injuries to keep an eye on. Marcus Williams and J.K. Dobbins are out. J.K. Dobbins, of course, out for the remainder of the season. Meanwhile, Ronnie Stanley is doubtful. His status for Sunday seems unlikely that he will play, but we'll monitor that and see if things change. Meanwhile, Tyler Linderbaum at the center position, he is questionable for Sunday, as is Mark Andrews and Marlon Humphrey, also questionable at this point. Humphrey, his timeline said that he would likely miss the first 2 weeks of the season, so I'd be surprised, but we'll see. We'll monitor that. That's at least the status for right now. John Harbaugh asked this week about the Ravens' injuries, in particular with Tyler Linderbaum, and this is what he had to say as far as the situation goes. Kind of goes back to the last conversation in terms of everybody being a starter, and now certain guys get opportunities and step up and show what they can do. We'll be counting on those guys to do a great job, and I know they will. So I'm disappointed when injuries happen, but I'm excited for those guys who get an opportunity and you move forward because the games keep coming. And that's right, next man up. Biggest concern for me going into this week when we talk about those injuries that we brought up there is the secondary. And the Bengals have as good of a receiving core as anybody in the National Football League. When you talk Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and not to mention they have one of the best quarterbacks in the league getting them the football with Joe Burrow. That, to me, is the big concern. Is it was already going to be a problem, assuming everybody was healthy. Now you're shorthanded going up against that group. That's what I would be losing sleep over this week if I was John Harbaugh and company heading into Sunday. What's your level of concern with the Ravens' injuries going into this game? Schedule for me in the comment section. Be honest with me. 1 through 10, or pin comment today. Let us know where your level of concern is at this point in time with the Ravens on that front. All right, let's get to keys to victory for your Baltimore Ravens. First and foremost, got to get pressure on Joey B, Joe Burrow. One of the things, as you look out through Joe Burrow's young career to this point, that he has had a problem with, and not his own fault, just the fault of the Bengals putting him in tough positions, has been the offensive line. And although the line improved with the additions the Bengals made with Orlando Brown and others this past offseason, last week he still got sacked twice. And you look at the statistics in his young career, he has taken a beating over the last several seasons. Back in 2020, 32 sacks, ended up tearing his ACL there at the end of 2020. 2021 got sacked 51 times. The year they went to the Super Bowl, still got sacked a lot. 2022 last year, numbers were down, but still a lot, 41 to be exact, and then 2 so far this season. Joe Burrow has been taking a beating throughout his career. If you're the Ravens, you're going to have to be aggressive and go after Burrow and get pressure and get him under duress to have a chance in this football game. And good news for the Ravens, last week their pass rush was very good against the Houston Texans. You had 5 players, following 5 guys on your screen here. Roquan Smith, Queen, Washington, Ajabo, and Matabuke all had a sack last week against Houston. So that's a very positive thing to look at, that the Ravens have that track record already of being able to apply pressure as far as that goes, although facing the Texans is a different challenge than facing the Bengals there. The odds for Sunday have the Ravens as a slight underdog, 3.5, over under 46.5. What do you guys think? I want you to chime in the comments section. Tell me, who do you got? Type R for Ravens, B for Bengals. What is your pick going to be for Sunday? Chime in. Tell me who you think pulls off the victory. Number 2 on my keys to victory for Baltimore is winning the time of possession. And as I was researching and getting ready for this matchup, you try to find those mismatches and advantages. And as I was looking at both sides of the coin here, I went back to what the Browns did against the Bengals that was successful last week. And think about this. One of the things they did a really good job of was keeping the ball out of Joe Burrow's hands. The Browns last week beat the Bengals in time of possession 35 minutes and 50 seconds, comparably speaking to the Bengals, who held the ball for 24 minutes in 10 seconds. That's close to a 12-minute difference in time of possession there. They kept the ball away from Joe Burrow. They managed the clock in their 24-3 win. It was pretty impressive how they were able to manage the ball and hold on to the clock in that sense. And as I think about this week's matchup for the Ravens and where they are coming from here, you know, I think when we look at the Ravens offense, we see Lamar and Zay Flowers and OBJ and just how explosive this Ravens offense can be. And immediately your mind goes to thinking, okay, score fast, you know, all gas, no brakes, right? Don't let up. You know, we know about Todd Monken's history with the air raid offense and the college level and all that, right? But this week, you don't necessarily need to do that. And we heard Todd Monken say when he took over as the offensive coordinator that they want to manage the clock, whether it's playing fast or slowing it down either way. And I think that the Ravens could use that to their advantage this week. Think about this. You go back to last season, and here's the surprising thing about last week of the Bengals not doing great in time of possession. That was one of their strengths last season. They had the third best TOP of any team in the league at 31 minutes and 29 seconds. The Ravens were solid at it, but the Bengals were slightly better at 31-14. So watch out. We'll see how that goes. Something to monitor there. An interesting key to think about, that time of possession, keeping the ball away from Joe Burrow as far as that goes. Today's show is sponsored by Game Time. Last-minute tickets are available for you. If you want to go to a Ravens game, or if you want to go to a Baltimore Orioles game, maybe it's a concert, comedy show, whatever it may be, Game Time's got you covered, folks, as we got some great options courtesy of Game Time. If you go to Game Time and enter the promo code RAVENSCHAT, you're going to get 20% off your first purchase. And it's very easy to use. I was recently at a baseball game, and I was able to get tickets very easily with Game Time. What you do, you get on the app. It shows you the prices. You can pick out your seat and see the view of what it's going to look like. It's pretty incredible. A fast, easy process. And if you decide at the last minute, if you're like me, who, I'll be honest, I make very quick decisions. I think on the fly. If you're like me and you think on the fly and decide on a whim, you know what, I want to go to a game tonight. Game Time's the way to do it. You're going to get your tickets fast, instantaneously through Game Time. And make sure you use that promo code. That way you can save that $20 off. It's basically free money at this point. What are you waiting for? Get $20 off with Game Time. Ravens Chat is the promo code. Terms and conditions do apply. That's Game Time with promo code Ravens Chat for $20 off while supplies last. All right, next up on our keys to victory for the Ravens is taking away the run game of the Cincinnati Bengals. Something that I know we talk a lot about, the passing game for Cincinnati with Burrow and Chase and all those guys. But one of the things that they love to do, that's their bread and butter, is running the football, establishing the run with Joe Mixon and company to get the passing game going, to make things easier on their passing attack. And last week against the Browns, the Bengals really struggled when it came to the run game, as Joe Mixon was held at just 56 yards on 13 carries. Chris Evans had 2 carries for 12 yards. Travion Williams had 2 carries for 7 yards. Jamar Chase had 1 carry for 2 yards. What we saw from the Browns, they did a really good job of taking away that run game, and the deficit got so big that they were playing from behind and forced them to throw the football as they were trying to come back in that football game. So with that said, on the Ravens standpoint, as far as their run defense goes, last week I thought had a pretty solid outing against Houston. You talk about playing to your strength. Here's a Ravens team that last week against Houston held them to 72 total rushing yards in last week's win. Dameon Pierce, who was solid last year for the Baltimore Ravens, for the Houston Texans, rather. Think about this. They held them to a total of 38 rushing yards. Good day from the Ravens. I want more of that, more of the same this week. Do what you did last week. Do it again to slow down Joe Mixon and company here this week against Cincinnati. Number 4 on my keys to victory for the Ravens. Get the ball to joystick himself, Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers, I got to tell you, as a guy that has been disappointed by a lot of females over the years, I can tell you first and foremost that not everything lives up to the hype, that some things are too good to be true. But in the case of Zay Flowers, that is not the situation here. Zay Flowers, folks, we were told everything throughout training camp and throughout the offseason that he was the star of camp and that he was just putting on a clinic, right? And there was even hype that he might even be the greatest Ravens wide receiver ever before he'd ever even played a game. Last week makes his official debut, and he shined. He was one of, if not the best players in the field last week. 9 catches, 78 yards. He and Lamar obviously are very comfortable together. He was the go-to receiver with all those catches that he made there, and I don't expect him to slow down. He caught the attention of John Harbaugh as well. Harbaugh said this about Zay Flowers, saying, yeah, I saw the plays, He was out there. I'm proud of him. I'm proud of him. He's going to tell you there are so many things that he expects to even do better. Right, Zay? And you can see why he was excited about Zay Flowers and his performance. Name a player to watch on Sunday versus the Bengals. Is it Zay Flowers? Is it Lamar? Is it somebody else? Give me a player that comes to mind that you believe could have a big day for the Baltimore Ravens. Give me a player in the comment section and let me know. Last on our keys to victory. Next man up in the run game for this Baltimore Ravens team. J.K. Dobbins is gone. He is done for the season. So now what? One of the things I told you frequently on this program last year was I was worried that the Ravens were going to run Lamar too much because their running backs would struggle, that it would force Lamar ultimately to get hurt. That's exactly what happened. He missed the last 5 games last year. Now you've lost J.K. Dobbins, and we've heard John Harbaugh say this week he's got full confidence in Gus Edwards and Justice Hill and company to get the job done. Melvin Gordon going to be a part of the equation. Keaton Mitchell, when he comes off PUP, is going to be a part of the equation as well. And I just got to say, I hope these guys are ready to go, because one of the things Todd Monken was brought in to do was to force Lamar to not run as much, that the running backs would do their job so Lamar could become more of a passing quarterback. I hope they're ready to step up, because last week the Ravens' running attack left a lot to be desired. What do you know? Lamar led this team in rushing again. As Lamar gets older, these days have to stop. It's not a knock on Lamar at all, but the Ravens need a run game that they can trust. Lamar last week, 6 carries, 38 yards, 6.3 yards per carry. Gus Edwards with 8 carries, 32 yards, 4 yards per carry. J.K. Dobbins with 8 carries, 22 yards, and a touchdown. Justice Hill, he had 2 touchdown scores. I want to see more out of Justice Hill in particular. I think Justice Hill has not really unleashed how good he could potentially be. Watch out. We'll see what Justice Hill can do. So, to recap, our keys to victory for Baltimore, got to get pressure on Joe Burrow, got to win the time of possession, take away the run game from the Bengals, get the ball to Zay Flowers, and then the next man up in the run game. Somebody has got to be able to carry the load. I don't care who it is, just somebody. Don't make Lamar run like a crazy man all day. And if they do these things, the Ravens could be in good shape. But that said, Bengals are at home. They're coming off a loss. You know they're going to play with an edge of sorts. A lot of injuries for this Ravens team right now have me concerned. I think it's a close game, but the Bengals pull it out and win this one 27-23 here in week number 2. Don't be mad at me. Just being real with y'all. Nature of the beast. Subscribe to the channel. Let's beat Bengals breakdown in new subscribers. Stay alert. We got some great stuff coming up the next few days here on the channel. We will see you next time. I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks for hanging out with us here on this edition of Ravens Right Now.